Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a really fascinating collision between massive cross-border logistics and cutting-edge mobile AI. So if you've been tracking the year-to-date headlines out of Washington and Ontario, you've definitely seen the keywords popping off everywhere: Trump, Doug Ford, SUSMA, and of course those looming USMCA tariffs. But what do all those major geopolitical headlines actually mean on the ground? Today, we are exploring how municipal solid waste, specifically the stuff shipped across the border from Ontario into U.S. landfills in Michigan, is forcing an absolute technological evolution. We'll be looking closely at how the 905 Wood digital refinery uses advanced edge AI to take totally chaotic waste and turn it into verified, legally compliant purity.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The cross-border waste corridor. 2. Impending trade and tariff threats. 3. Building the Sentient Bridge. 4. Edge AI on Pixel 10. 5. The digital refinery workflow. And 6. Securing the circular bioeconomy.
All right, Section 1, the cross-border waste corridor. This is a massive logistics operation.
To really get why this tech is such a game changer, we first have to grasp the sheer, staggering physical scale of what's moving across the border every single day. 3.46 million. That's how many tons of trash Michigan imports from Ontario annually. Picture a bumper-to-bumper line of semi-trucks stretching for hundreds of miles. It's a continuous, physical river of municipal solid waste mixed with commercial and institutional material. This is exactly the chaotic feedstock that companies like 905 Wood are dealing with.
And just to put that into perspective, this single international corridor accounts for over 14% of all waste disposed of in Michigan landfills. We're not talking about some fringe operation here. It's a foundational pillar of regional waste management. But here's the catch. This historical reliance is sailing straight into some massive regulatory headwinds. For decades, chucking waste across the border was dirt cheap. The historical Michigan tipping fee has sat at just 36 cents per ton. But with a proposed 5-year phase-in, that fee rockets to $5 a ton. That is an almost 1,300% increase. This corridor is getting exponentially more expensive, and the days of cheap, unverified dumping, they are abruptly ending.
Which brings us to Section 2. Impending trade and tariff threats, and how the industry is navigating these regulatory cliffs.
Beyond just local landfill fees, international trade policies between the U.S. and Canada are tightening up fast. Look at this timeline closing in on us. We hit the USMCA joint review in July 2026. Shortly after that, in 2029, a clean wood landfill ban takes effect under REWOOD. Fast forward to 2034, we face the Ontario capacity cliff, directly followed by a massive circle levy escalation in 2036. This whole cascade of deadlines means the industry is literally about to hit a regulatory brick wall.
So, what does this all mean financially? Let's break down that CRCIL levy. If your waste is classified as a clean stream, your exposure is a pretty manageable $5 a ton. An ambiguous amber band load hits you for $10, but mixed waste, boom, a punishing $60 a ton. That massive spread makes extreme, verified purity not just a nice-to-have, but an absolute economic necessity for survival. Moving on to Section 3, building the Sentient Bridge. This is where AI meets industrial waste. To survive these macro threats, you can't just throw more humans at the problem, right? You need a massive technological leap. And the core thesis of the 905 Wood digital refinery is captured right here. It acts as a sentient bridge. Think of it like this. On one side, you have the absolute chaos of construction waste. On the other, the super strict clinical requirements of the global biocarbon market. The AI's entire job is to bridge that gap, ensuring that chaos comes out as verified, audit-proof purity.
To enforce that level of purity, the system uses a really strict precautionary principle called the visual fallacy doctrine, which is powered by a scoring engine called Deep Reject. Say you've got a piece of weathered gray pine. It might be totally harmless, or it might be hiding toxic CCA treatment. Because the risk is so incredibly high, the system actually demands that both human inspection and a dual AI model consensus must fail in order for a safety breach to occur. The rule of simple and absolute. If there is any ambiguity, reject it.
All right, Section 4, Edge AI on Pixel 10. Let's look at what's actually powering the Sentient Bridge.
To make a lightning-fast reject on ambiguity decision out in the middle of a muddy construction yard, you need incredible computing power right at the edge. This entire industrial operation is mobilized on the Google Pixel 10 Pro running the Android 16 operating system. It leverages the Google Tensor G5 chip with neural processing acceleration, the Titan M2 secure element to guarantee cryptographic trust, and the Light RT AI stack. Basically, enterprise-level AI processing isn't happening in some distant server farm anymore. It's happening right there, directly in the operator's heavy-duty gloves.
This tech enables what they call the 2-second rule for multimodal intake. Here's how it works. An operator captures a photo or video, which feeds directly into the Gemma 4 E2B multimodal AI classifier. The AI analyzes the material and renders a provisional result end-to-end in under 500 milliseconds. That is literally faster than a human blink to differentiate a perfectly clean load from a financially disastrous, hazardous one. Pretty wild, right?
Section 5. The Digital Refinery Workflow. Turning chaos into compliance.
Now, identifying the waste is really only half the battle. Documenting it for cross-border authorities through a clean UI/UX output, that's the other half. This workflow pairs blazing fast edge capability with incredibly deep cloud analysis. The Gemini 4 Edge AI gives you instant 500 millisecond triage right on the device. But it works seamlessly in tandem with Gemini 4.5 Cloud AI, which powers Vertex AI pipelines. This cloud layer provides what's called explainable compliance. It takes the edge decision, cross-references it with massive databases, and cites specific Ontario Regulation 347 codes to legally justify exactly why a load was accepted or rejected.
And all of that complex data? It gets synthesized into border officer-friendly PDF documentation, like requests for quote and certificates of origin. And they are completely audit-proof. The hardware haptic locks the exact GPS and timestamp to a 2-second accuracy. It pins the specific AI model version used, so historical decisions are totally reproducible. It generates a cryptographic hash via that Titan M2 chip, and even slaps a QR code on the paperwork for instant verification at the border. It literally translates physical purity into legally binding paperwork.
Finally, Section 6, Securing the Circular Bioeconomy, Mitigating Risk and Maximizing Reward.
This is where we really see the massive return on investment for adopting this level of AI transparency. By running an audit-proof system, 905 Wood secures the incredibly valuable HS3825.0 wholly obtained trade classification. This acts as an ironclad firewall. It defends against up to a 40% USMCA transshipment penalty exposure and protects against Section 232 derivative stacks. But most importantly, it allows the customer to completely dodge that $60 levy we talked about earlier, while 905 Wood retains 100% of the carbon dividend, known as quarks. So the AI isn't just a compliance tool. It actively protects and generates revenue, firmly securing Ontario's industrial leadership in the global circular bioeconomy. As we watch borders thicken and trade policies tighten globally, it raises a massive question for every industry relying on international logistics. If a smartphone AI can turn a chaotic pile of debris into a cryptographically secured, border-ready asset, will AI-driven transparency become the new gold standard? And maybe the only way to survive in global waste management? Definitely something to think about the next time you see a truck headed for the border. Thanks so much for joining us on this Explainer.